So, guys, here is the long and start of Origin. So, Isabel decides that she writes a book and she's gonna equate everything to caste system and say that racism, the horrors of Nazi oppression, the Holocaust are similar to caste. I think she has an agenda basically. So, this is what a good movie does. What a good movie does is in the initial beginning itself, it tells you what the purpose of the movie is, what the journey of the hero is going to be. So in Origin, in the beginning itself, Isabel says that somebody approaches her and a fellow journalist approaches her and asks her to do the story about Trayvon Martin. But she says, I don't want to do the story, I want to be the story. So basically, that gives you the answer that Isabel doesn't care about anything else. She wants a movie about her. She wants the book about her, and for that, the subject doesn't matter anymore at that point in time. She's gonna fit herself into the middle of anything, and decide. For example, she could have not written Caste the Origins, but she could have written brotherly brotherly enmity. That could have been the title. Brotherly enmity: the origins of our discontents. And she could have gone all the way to Bible and said Cain and Abel fight. That was the first thing where two brothers fight. All human beings are brothers and sisters, so everything is sibling rivalry. So my story is brotherly enmity or sibling rivalry, the origins of our discontent. So it's as stupid as that. And now that she has formed her theory, now she goes about figuring out what she does. And I think in her literary world, she knows Suraj, she knows others. Obviously, she must have had some Jewish friends or whatnot. And obviously, it was the time post or write about Black Lives Matter and everything. So she decides that she's going to write about racism and she's going to bring a few other things. And caste is such a nice, scandalous topic, so she just adds that and does that. So that's what I feel. And I actually was part of the review of the movie, like when Ava DuVernay made the movie. She invited a few of us to review it, but too little, too late, right? In fact, there was not even a scene where Isabel actually studies anything about Baba Saheb or her books. There's not a scene. Of course, now there is one where she's shown as studying the annihilation of caste. That was only because I told her that as part of her research, Isabel in the movie researches a lot about black people and also she has the lived experience. Then she goes to Germany and in fact she reaches into the libraries and stuff and even brings out books that were not allowed regularly with like special permission. But when it comes to untouchability, it's as if we don't matter and she heard what she heard and she's decided that she knows everything. She is not shown as reading a single book. I actually asked this question directly of Ava, and then she said, no, 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 she actually went to India, she does the research. There is no research. She attends a museum and sits with some community students. It's like somebody going to New York, enjoying 10 days of the trip, and then eventually going to World Trade Center, reading the people who died over there and shedding a tear or 10, I don't care, or going to some of the South African places or the African things, do all of your safaris and everything, and before you leave, you go to that one island where the slaves were held before they were shipped off to America, get sad and cry. It's like that's how I felt what her research in India was. She had a good time and she interacted with some of our community members. But she has never read a book, I can promise you. And also, if anybody wants to equate caste system to untouchability and the Holocaust, the Nazi oppression, the first thing you need to understand is what is the origin of caste system. The first book she should have read would have been the origin caste in India, their mechanism, genesis, and development. I don't think she read. I bet I'm willing to bet money to prove that she has not read it. I mean, obviously she can run around and read it now, but I don't think she has ever read it because anybody who has read the two books that I'm going to say, Caste in India, their mechanism development and the genesis, mechanism, and development, and Untouchables, who are they and why they became untouchable. Anybody who reads those two books would never equate caste system to racism to the Jewish oppression and the Holocaust and all that stuff. So she has never read those. Like I said, she just wanted to be the center of the story. It didn't matter, so she did that. And that is why I say that this movie, while it shows Dr. Ambedkar, gives some screen time to Suraj, gives some screen time to Gaurav and a few other community members in the background, does not actually prove that we have a voice It proves that we have no voice because not one of us has actually questioned how in the world Isabel can relate all these and claim such an authority to read, and nobody has questioned what books she has read. I actually asked this question that I asked another Eva, like that she didn't read a book. The whole story before the release, the first cut or the second cut, did not have Isabel reading a book, and that's when they actually post edited that she's reading Annihilation of Caste, which is also the stupidest book to read. If you want to understand caste system and untouchability, you need to read the other two books: Untouchables, Who Were They and Why They Became Untouchables, and Caste, Their Origin, castes in India, their mechanism, genesis, and development. Those are the two books you need to read, not Annihilation of Caste. And then one of the other things, then when I questioned Eva, was how is this even same? I did not talk to Isabel, right? I was only talking with Eva at the post production, too late already. And I said also that whole thing of caste system being same as racism because black people and white people were prohibited to intermarry is not this is so one of her reasoning that caste system and um, black racism was the same was that see in both cases intermarriage is not allowed, but I think in this case they are mistaking cause for the effect and effect for the cause. So caste system arose because intermarriages were denied. So in this case, intermarriages is the cause and caste system is the effect. But in the case of racism, the color of the skin, you being black and I being white through the white supremacy world, is the cause, and the effect of it is that they are then not allowed to intermarry. So I think they are dumb in assuming that one is the same as the other. There is a whole thing, right? Like if my wife dies and then I dig a grave, that means that I'm a caring person who wants to take care of my wife and have a place where to rest her. But if my wife is not yet dead, but I've gone and dug a grave, then somebody need to question me as a murderer. So there is such a big difference between this. Did you dig the grave before or after? So same thing. Did the intermarriages come before, or the restrictions on intermarriage come before or after? If it is before, then that's the origin of the caste. Intermarriages were not allowed, so caste came up. Racism was already there. Blacks and whites were black people and white people were not seen similarly, and they didn't want to be intermingled. That's why intermarriages between them were not allowed. Like, how is one the same as the other? And also, oh, by the way, there is a third book that they should have read if Isabel was serious about this, was Slavery versus Untouchability. Dr. Ambedkar clearly explained. Like, Dr. Ambedkar has given the answers. He already researched that this is not the same. And then this stupid author goes and just wants to sell books, I'm sure, because it's a scandalous topic. And this is the book she writes. And obviously, Eva is her friend and may not have researched fully, may not have met the right people. The people she met were all like, oh, sure, make a movie. So that's what she made. But ideally, Baba Sahib already said these are not the same. In fact, he contrasts these things in every other book to clearly show how one is different than the other. So with regards to that, within Slavery and Untouchability, he also tells why, while very similar, even the case of untouchables and the Jewish people is very different, because the Jewish people actually want to be separate. He cites examples of Napoleon where he requests Jewish people to come in and mingle into the regular community to show that they're patriotic. And the Jewish people do some kind of stuff, and to satisfy the Napoleon and other people, they in the end add one clause in there in the Slavery and Untouchability Baba Sahib shares. Jewish people concede that they will tolerate Jewish people marrying outside of Jewish people. Just tolerate. They're not gonna approve of it. They're just gonna tolerate. So Jewish people themselves want to stay within their world. So within Untouchables, that's not the case. I mean, now I don't care, but in general, Untouchables wanted to get into the Indian society. They want to be accepted, but Jewish people actually feel like they are the special people, and they want to be special in their own way. But Untouchables are not like that. We actually, if suddenly tomorrow everybody wakes up and if the upper caste people completely or the privileged caste people completely forget about caste system, and they say, well, we won't treat you differently. Untouchables are willing to merge in. Untouchables are not there drawing Lakshman Rekha around themselves and says, no, we're not going to go outside of it and marry into your families or whatnot. In fact, it's the contrary. So there is that other difference. So having not read any of this, basically Isabel just wrote a book to put herself in the center and sell books, basically. So that's what it is. So which is why when I see all of you guys posting, oh, Origin is on Netflix, we should go watch it, I want to go ahead, watch it. I don't care actually. But if you think that that's giving us a voice, it's not actually. It's actually proving that we don't have a voice, because not one scene in there, and also in real life, I don't think any of our community has actually sat down with Isabel as Jewish leaders, Jewish intellects have sat down and argued with her back and forth, saying that this is not the same. None of our community members have neither done it in the real life, nor has it been depicted in the movie, that at least one of us has sat down and had a conversation and questioned Isabel as to how she has come to that conclusion and proven her wrong. That's just plain stupid to even come to that conclusion. But anyways, I just wanted to share this with you guys. So, and I'm not just trying to contradict Isabel or Ava. I have been part of this movie in some ways. I have helped Gaurav be cast as Dr. Ambedkar. I have later on, as part of that editing world, sat down with them. Again, like I said, too little too late, helped them. In fact, even the scene where she at least reads one Baba Sahib's book is because of me. Nobody else has told her that. They didn't think of that, nor did anybody else who saw that movie as part of post-production help her decide that. So, but it is very sad that that some of our community, and we all who don't know this background, might think that Origin is a great movie which gives a little insight into our world in Hollywood and brings Dr. Ambedkar to Hollywood. Maybe superficially, maybe as a two-dimensional figure, but also in the whole wrong context of where, like I said, it was just Isabel wanting to be in the center of the story. Actually, the subject matter did not matter to her. She would have written about something else. She could have written about how steel is same as water because these are made of elements, these are made of elements, it's all chemistry, so the steel is same as water. Anything. It didn't matter to her. But anyways, I just wanted to come around and share this because I think now that Origin is on Netflix, I see some of you guys posting very happily that Origin is on Netflix and you should go watch it. Yeah, watch it, but see how stupid it is, how stupid that concept is. Just try to reason and truth. That Buddha says, please look at that movie with reason and truth and see how absurd it is. Okay, thanks.